original Peco started at this blue pillar and went straight out over this way. So the storefront was basically a front porch, converted front porch. As you come up here, you're entering what was part of the house. So over here, the fireplace you can see is got wine in front of it for the most part nowadays, but that's the original mantle in our family's living room. What is now our world famous whiskey library was the dining room. So even when I was a kid, I remember this being a dining room. There was a dining room table. The shelves that we use are built-ins that used to have my great-grandmother's china on them. You see what was the kitchen. So it hasn't changed that much. It's a retro kitchen with old tiles, and we painted this shortly after my grandparents passed away, and when we took off the wallpaper, we found this, which my grandfather at some point probably put the wallpaper up, and he signed his name in the year he started. So I had to sign my name in the year I started underneath that. But then we had a babysitter when all me and my cousins were kids, and we'd come here and spend time in the office. She put all our names on it, and in 1992, and that's her name. So that was kind of neat.
Peco's was started when my grandparents came from Italy. They assimilated into life here, and they lived in the city of Wilmington with my grandfather's brother. And they saved their money with their dream of owning their own business, and that's when they moved to this area. They grew their business. They had 2 children, and my grandfather unfortunately died and left my grandmother a widow. And she was a woman of her time. It's a man's business, the liquor industry, and she ran it.
And I used to come up here with Francine on Saturdays, and we would go into the kitchen of Mrs. Peco and sit there, have conversation, and watch the weddings going on at St. Alina's. I was just in awe of her, and I think she would be an inspiration to women because she was a woman ahead of her time, running this business and raising a family on her own. And, it was just amazing to me, how wonderful she was and what a kind person she was.
But she ran that business until the late 50s when my father married my mother, and then he was the face of the store, and my mother and my grandmother were behind the scenes.
Paul was a bricklayer. He was really, if he was alive today and you asked him, he'd say, oh, I was bricklayer by trade. That was really important to him, a big part of his identity. And like most trade jobs, it slows down in the fall and autumn. So my great grandmother says, hey, why don't you come work here while you're slow, through the winter, and then you can, go back to bricklaying in the summer. Well, he just never went back. There was nothing else he was supposed to be doing. I mean, people came from all over the place to buy stuff from him. They passed 10 liquor stores to come buy a bottle of wine from Frank, which was a big deal. At Christmas time, there would be trays of cookies and pies, all sorts of stuff delivered to him. And he would just do anything for anybody.
Frank always had good stories, man. I used to love to listen to him. He was just like a father. I mean, he cared about you. He cared about your family.
If you opened up with Frank, the routine was to go down and get a couple of coffees, come in, and from 9 o'clock on until the 11 o'clock guy came in, we would sit and talk and solve world hunger.
Frank the night crew, we worked. In those days, the store was open until 11 o'clock at night. And so Frank would come over with coffee for the guys and, would close the store and tell jokes and have fun, So just a fun-loving guy, really, really, nice person.
Most people, especially when I was a kid, it was always like pop-up store, even though we all knew it was Mom's store.
Rita was the boss. There's no doubt, in anybody's mind. I mean, she was your mother, and she treats you like she was your mother. It wasn't very long after I started here that I lost my mother, and Rita just picked up the empty space, and just I called her, Mother and Big Daddy Frank. And they were incredible people, incredible.
Rita was a wonderful, wonderful person who spoke her mind. No matter what she had on her mind, she said it. And 99 times out of 100, she was right. She was a nurse. She knew so much. She was a very, very giving, loving person, as was Frank.
They were the cornerstone for the neighborhood between here and what she did for the church and everything like that. I mean, she's Bellefonte pretty much, and everybody knew them, and the personalized customer service and everything. They were great. They treated me fabulously, and even when I just started the store, I mean, they didn't know me from Adam, but they treat you like you've been here, coming in here 10, 20 years.
It gave the community like a central place. You know, like I said, everybody used to stop in here. I knew people that would come in here. I could tell you Friday at 6 o'clock who was going to be in here by 7 and what they were going to buy. You know, and it got like that.
You know, it wasn't all about them. It was about the bigger picture, their family, their community. Very supportive of their church through the youth, Little League, sports, theater at Mount Pleasant, you know, the dance community. They always donated to those because they felt the youth was our future. And they were very generous that way. And that's how we run it today, because that was so ingrained in us that you can't be successful unless you have a successful community.
This was everything to them. This was their baby. They cared about it, and they cared about it being good to the customers, being good to the neighbors. We were always proud that this store was in our neighborhood, and consequently, the customers who come here are those kind of customers who definitely appreciated Frank and Rita. Frank always greeted you sitting at that desk. I mean, just always with a smile. Rita always in the back doing her work, as now it's Edward always there with a smile and Francine always in the back.
Just their commitment to the family, the business, the community, their generosity, and just a loving couple that we'd all love to strive to have that type of relationship. So they were just great people.
The store is a part of our family. It is like their fourth child, and they had a lot of pride in it. You know, I mean, they rebuilt it when it burned down. They sacrificed immensely in tough times to make sure it kept going, and constantly making sure that we were doing the right things to make it keep going. So I only worked here with them for 4 years, which is crazy because when I think of the last 6 years, it seems to have gone by so much quicker. But there was a couple, like many times during those 4 years where, you know, I'd go to them with an idea or something that was going to cost some money, and I was always surprised that they were so willing to. It showed to me again the level of commitment that they had.
I got to know Frank and Rita first, so dealing with them and always treat me like one of the family and whatnot over the years. And then when it came to the point where I was coming in here to deliver, Christmas time, spring break, that was when I met Ed. You know, so Ed's the little fresh-faced kid, you know, sophomore, junior, whatever, in college. And, you know, I'd see him a couple times a year and chat it up and whatnot. And then obviously the progression turned into him coming here. And it's been great to watch this progression and watching to see the way the family has built this, and then Ed coming in and kind of changing with the times and realizing, hey, if we're going to stay relevant, we have to, you know, do certain things. And it's been awesome, especially, you know, with so many family businesses, you know, that don't survive after so many years. It's great to see, you know, a family like this be able to come out of it.
You're growing the shop, and you're the next generation. You want to try to make it better, and you certainly want it to do as well as your parents or your grandparents. And Ed has done it here. Like, he is evolved. Like, as a small business, you can't just be stagnant.
There's a comfort level here. The counter was on the side. This didn't exist. That was a wall. And seeing it from wall getting knocked down to the expansion fully, but remembering what it was like at the old store to this, there's just like there's a real homey feel.
Peco's opened as the first growler bar in the first state. And this is a bill we passed in 2013, that was my bill, to allow growlers to be filled and sold at liquor stores. But that has been just awesome for Delaware. It's been economic development. It's also helped be greener because you don't have much packaging. I always say that was Ed's idea. He helped me. We made that happen.
So this is Peco's world famous growler bar. This was like my little baby. Growlers were not available in Delaware. There was no legislation that allowed us to do it. So we kind of took it on ourselves to work with our wonderful elected officials and get a bill passed that would let retail liquor stores do growlers. So when that happened, we were out of space, so we had to do the last renovation, and I'm going to call it the official last renovation of Peco's because there's just nowhere else we can go. We busted out the wall, and we added another, I think, 2,000 square feet to the store, and that's where we are now. So with that, we added a couple more cold box stores here, and all this space for spirits that were kind of crammed in before. So that's the latest, and there's no further space I can go. There's no more walls I can take down. I mean, I guess I could go up, but maybe we will. My grandparents were still alive for this. They got to see this last piece of the puzzle come together. The construction ran way too long. It was supposed to be done by October. It didn't end up wrapping up until 2 weeks before Christmas. That's our busy season. So in one night, we took the false wall down and connected the store and moved every single bottle and shelf into the new space. So it was kind of a Herculean effort, but it was funny. Both my grandparents were there that night helping us do it. And yeah, it's a nice memory that I have.
Ed is very progressive when it comes to the store and trying to keep an eye out for what consumers are looking for and what they want. And we're hopeful to bring products to him that fit that are in the category that his folks are looking for. 4 or 5 years ago, I came in before the holidays. And he said, "What are you doing here?" Because I live on the other side of town. And I said, "Ed, I need wine for my family and for the holidays over Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I'm going to buy it from a friend." So I came here and I said, "Let's get a shopping cart." And I'm a beer guy, but Ed took me through the wine area and hooked me up with all the different varietals and stuff that I would need for the family. So it's that kind of service that a family-owned store with like a history like Peco that can deliver.
They care about everybody who walks in this door. From as early on as the time that I was a kid, it was never just about coming in here to buy your wine or buy your beer and leave, but you knew if you were coming in here, there was going to be a conversation about family. There was going to be a conversation, how was your life?
My mom brought me here, and I remember getting lollipops from Ed's grandma and grandpa, and me and Ed played football together over at St. Helena's. When I became 21, this was my liquor store. Then I took a little adventure and joined the Army, went out for a while, and when I came back, things were pretty hard, and real quick, Ed, jumped right back being in sort of the fold of my life, and we became friendly again, and that transitioned into me needing some help, and there was a job here for me, and since then, our relationship has really grown. I have started a local nonprofit working with high school students, and Peco's is our #1 financial marketing supporter. So, this place has become a huge part of my life. And one of the things that I say about Peco's and Ed specifically is that they are what America intended small businesses to be. They're connected to the community. They care about the people because they live here.
When I first moved here, I think when I started meeting people in the community was one of their Food Truck Friday events. So it's just you feel part of the community when you work here. You see your neighbors coming in all the time. I live right down the street, so it's just you're part of this area. It's a landmark. Everybody knows Peco's.
I think whenever we have those regular customers come in, those people really just stick out, and everyone really embraces them. And even if you're not a regular customer, it's just kind of like they get to know you, want to know what you're into alcohol-wise, and they like to help out. So they really just are here to support the community in even just the smallest ways.
It's a place where people meet each other. I met future business partners right here in this store at an event here, and it's really great that this community comes here. It's an anchor.
What I've seen is a love of the business, a passion for what they do, the feeling of camaraderie between all the people who are here, but the reaching out just to everyone in the area of saying, "Come here, this is the place." it works.
It's actually an icon here in North Wilmington. If someone says, if I say, oh, you know where Peco's, oh yeah, I know where Peco's is. For Francine, it's just a very strong bond and memory and continued development of the business to go even beyond what her grandmother started.
For me, it's the legacy that really, Francine's grandparents left. 85 years later, it's still here in the same spot. And everybody's kind of had a little part of it. I mean, it went from a mom and pop little kind of grocery store to a full-time, liquor store. It's just the legacy that's been left, right? I mean, and the exciting part is, that now maybe my grandkids will be, part of that legacy as well. And part of it is, hey, how long can we keep it going? Can we keep it going?
Comes back to family and love. That's what it means to me. It's not just a store that we sell product. I mean, it's family. It's my life, like I don't ever want to see it go away. I mean, some people say, do you ever think of changing? No, I don't, because it just is such a part of me and my family.
Since my grandparents have passed on and we have another generation of family members involved with the business, it's something that keeps us all connected, and I'm grateful for that. I mean, a lot of times you lose touch with your cousins. They're your first friends, and that was the case for me, and you get older and you go your separate ways, you have families and careers, and you don't see each other as much. But this is a great opportunity for us to stay connected, to have something in common. They've been amazingly supportive. Again, they have their own successful careers. They do other things every day. Me and Mom come to work every day. But they've always been there for us to stand by us, support us.
And then back here's my office, which used to be my great-grandparents' bedroom. This room was kind of when we were kids, we would hang out up here. We had a TV, we had a couch. This is where we came. And now that my son comes up here 4 days a week, this is his little play area in this room. So he's up here. This is Peco's daycare.
All my grandparents are gone, and we're in a period of there is going to be another generation soon. And I think my thing is I want him or them to be in a position to be able to do it if they want to, and be able to, trust in hiring a good manager, or I like it to always be in our family, right? But if they chose, I want to be a doctor or whatever, okay, great, be a doctor. I'd like them to be in a position where they could choose to still be an owner, spend some time, doing behind the scenes stuff, but trust in a really good staff to keep the legacy going. They wanted to work here, that'd be great too. I just hope that, I do a good enough job to put them in a position to be able to continue to be viable.
A lot of love was in this business, a lot of work, hard work. 2 immigrants came, not knowing the language, hardly knowing each other, and look what they could do. So I think that should give us all hope that if we're willing to work hard and love each other and give to each other, I think you will always be a success.
Then the next addition was over to this pillar. I think that was in the 50s. And then in the 70s, we added this whole area, and the hallway back to the beer and everything. And it's funny, if you stand here, there's this noticeable little hump in the floor, and you can tell where the connection is. It's the original cash register, so that's kind of neat. And this is from the 50s, so they didn't have a cash register for about 20 years. I think Frank was the one who said, we're getting busier, we need a cash register. So that's still there. Took this when I was in high school. For a photography class, and that's probably, when he wasn't reading the paper, he was sitting there doing his orders, even though you could see the computer in the background and that could easily do the orders for him. He did it on those yellow legal pads, That was how he did it. I think part of the reason we have a unique experience is because not only we're inviting people into our family's business to shop and spend time with us, but it is in a lot of senses our family's home, and it's not lost on me that I get to come work here every day. I think that's kind of a unique experience.